Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned in to the Status Network, the live TV channel, and this is the Conversation Corner with your host, the author Andrew Snorton. And let's have a conversation. We bring in great people doing great things across entertainment, business, the community, and more. Now, normally we air every second and fourth Wednesday of the month at 7 Eastern Time, but because the fourth Wednesday of the month was Christmas, and we're trying to make sure to celebrate the reason for the season, that is why we are here for a special airing tonight at 8:30. So we're hoping you had a great Christmas. We hope you're having a great holiday season. Before we get into our guests, we're going to knock out a few station announcements as well as a couple public service announcements before we get to our guests. So again, with the Status Network, we appreciate you not only tuning in to our show, but the entire Status Network family of television stations, programs, and yes, even radio. For tonight's show, the best way to enjoy it is to go to statusnetwork.net, click on channels, click on live TV, and click on the Conversation Corner. But to save you steps in the future, just go ahead and subscribe. Just subscribe. Just do it. It makes it easier. But for those of you that want to go through all that, if you have space on your smartphone, download Status Network smartphone app, click on channels, click on live TV, and you'll see us. For those of you that are fans of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope, and others, make sure you add both Status Network and live TV. And based on your settings, especially for Facebook, as soon as this show or any of the shows pop up, you're going to get them. For those of you that have Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, go ahead and tune in to Status Network and you'll see us. And make sure you're following me on Facebook at Author, that's A-U-T-H-O-R, not Arthur, A-U-T-H-O-R, Author Andrew Snorton on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, Author A. Snorton. And we're just going to go ahead and make you can email me too. Email me at authorasnorton@gmail.com. Yes, I will respond. Not a bot, a real person. So those are the station announcements. Now we're going to go ahead and pivot to our public service announcements. As you notice, we go ahead and get these out at the beginning. So first, way back on December 14th, the Loganville Conyers chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Sigma Eta Lambda, hosted their inaugural Black Ice Affair. It was a great holiday party. As you see there, the Ice Cold Brothers out there. But a portion of the proceeds were donated to support their ABC2 holiday give back. So the photo you see on the right is them going to Children's Hospital of Atlanta. So all 100 and something odd people. It was packed. It was probably more than 100 something odd, but you know, fire code, so we're not going to say the exact numbers. But all seriousness, we thank each and every one of you for coming out and supporting as a portion of the proceeds. Help part of their holiday give back, not only at Children's Hospital, but at Snellville Pediatrics. And if you remember, they were a guest on our show November 13th. So shouts to the Alphas. Our next announcement is, oh my goodness, speaking of the Alphas of Atlanta, the collective of the 8 graduate chapters. Let me remember the cities. City of Atlanta, East Point College Park, Riverdale, Henry County, DeKalb County, Cobb County, oh my goodness, Gwinnett County, oh yeah, and then Loganville Conyers. Oh my goodness gracious. They are back at it, ladies and gentlemen. 6th annual Alpha Derby weekend, the Kentucky Derby themed event. I'll tell you what, back in 2015, they had 900 people. This past year for 2019, about 3,300 people, a third of whom travel from out of state. You want to make sure to visit alphaderbyweekend.com. Make sure to add Alphas of Atlanta on your social media platforms and go ahead and start planning now. May 1st through 3rd, 2020 is when the 6th edition comes. But as a side note, once you recover from watch night service for New Year's Eve, because we know all of you are going to watch night, yes, or some other function, January 1st, when you roll out of bed, check the website and get your tickets, your sponsorships, all that. So shouts to the Alphas of Atlanta. The next announcement is one of our guests, celebrity host Tyressa Ty, the brand and road manager for Dougie Fresh. This was her 7th year of doing her Divas and Dolls holiday give back. It was the biggest one to date, as there were basically 30 divas, meaning 30 women from all across entertainment, business, and the community, just like this show. But it's a big deal because there are people from Oakland, California that were part of it, states that were represented, California, Arizona, Texas. Of course, we know the Boot because that's where she's from. Florida, Georgia, the DMV. We're not talking about Department of Motor Vehicles. We're talking about Baltimore, D.C., Virginia, New York, North Carolina. So shouts to the 30 women that were part of this big 12-day campaign because every girl around the world deserves a doll. But in fact, reports are coming out that even after Christmas, they're still doing donations. So shouts to Tyressa Ty. Shouts to all the people that were part of supporting this great initiative. Our next announcement. Oh my goodness. Now, what do we have right here? Well, a lot of you know that for my very first show way back when, October of 2018, one of my first guests was Mr. Jay Wesley for the work he does with Cocktail Chronicles and his show 100 Proof. We have been proud to be a friend of Jay Wesley. I've been a guest on his show. He's been a guest on my show. And this photo that you see right now is from his 100th taping. Now, that's actually going to air on New Year's Eve, 6 p.m. on one of our colleagues rolling out. But we got to give a shout to Jay Wesley. He's been a supporter of our work here. He's been a supporter of my work. And yes, I got to interview him multiple times as well as multiple things. You want to check it out. So before you go to watch night, yes, I'm serious. Before you go to watch night service on New Year's Eve, make sure to catch it. It'll be at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So shouts to Jay Wesley. Our next announcement. Oh, one of our business partners. Oh, wait, that's my business. Okay, Creative Community Solutions, Education, Press, and Media. Yes, we have done sporting events from covering minor league hockey, minor league baseball through Nothing Minor series. We covered college football, and even though the outcome wasn't as expected with a 27-21 loss against Michigan State, still shouts to the Wake Forest University Demon Deacons. They still had a special season, 8-5 overall. So shouts to all those young men. Even though the final game wasn't what they wanted, when you look at the body of work for the entire season, they still had a great season, and we're proud of them. But we know that education is the key, so that's ACT, SAT prep, tutoring, coaching, speaking, you name it, we can probably do it, and doing good, but doing greater. So shouts to Creative Community Solutions. Our next announcement is, oh, you know what? This is just my day. This is a great bridge and lead in because my guests have written stuff too. But before we talk about them, I got to briefly plug myself. Yes, if I do say so myself. The author, the very top, the author's mixtape, Volume 1, Organic Musings from H to O. Remember, this was basically done an entire 2-hour studio session. That's right, I didn't come in pre-written. We did everything start to finish in 2 hours. So 7 tracks available on almost 300 different platforms. Make sure to download it on platforms like Tidal, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, the whole nine. Of course, the other 2 books that you saw were the 2 books that were up for Author Academy Awards from the Author Academy Awards piece. So 9 Stories of Faith. Volume 1 is for you or readers you know that can identify living with life's biggest daily challenges and how, through the lens of their faith, best practices with health and wellness, their support network, and inner drive are able to work through and live lives of power and purpose. And then, of course, Deeper Than Your Deepest Sleep, Thoughts on Love with Joseph Snorton for the poetry lovers looking at the action of love. Can we say it one time? Love. Through broader lenses. So whether it's family, friends, loved ones, people in your life, people no longer in your life, thank you. And of course, just moving on, self-reflection and others. So we're real excited with everything taking place. And in a couple of moments, you're going to get a chance to hear one of the snippets regarding the author's mixtape. So we'll have that up and running in just a couple moments. Okay, we're going to keep going. So I'm ready. Okay, so again, as I'm reminded, I'm just so excited with the holidays. We are going to go ahead and give a listen to one of the tracks from the author's mixtape, Volume 1, Organic Musings from H2O. So let's go ahead and give it a listen.
What's going on, y'all? This is author Andrew Snorton, and today's project is the author's mixtape, Volume 1, from H to O, looking at things a little bit differently compared to other poetry and spoken word pieces. This is done in partnership with Third Level Entertainment Music Group, and the way we did our spoken word is a little bit different. What you're about to hear is purely organic. In other words, the topics were picked, given to me, Then I had 10 minutes to come up with something, and they had 10 minutes to come up with instrumentals. You'll hear 2 instrumental tracks and 4 traditional tracks. So sit back, relax, take it all in, and remember, this is the first of what'll be soon to come, the Author's Mixtape.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So, of course, you've heard some great things about the station, some great things about yours truly. But now let's hear about something greater and someone greater. And that, of course, is going to be the first of our in-studio guests. Oh, my goodness! In-studio guests, how you doing this evening?
Doing great, doing great.
Could you please let our viewers know who you are, where you're from, and where you're based out of?
Well, my name is Dr. Tonia Phanor. I am originally from Southern California and grew up there, went to college there, Pepperdine University, then relocated to go to UGA. Go Dogs, and started and got my master's in communication, started teaching at many different schools in the Atlanta area, stayed, and just started working for different colleges and doing my own business, and so I'm based here.
So, wow, so you went from the left coast to the right coast,
Yes.
And part of your journey is definitely education. We know education is the key to success and things along those lines. Walk us through the lens of an educator, what are some of the key things that you're doing?
So I didn't know that I was initially going to go into education. I've always loved school, always was very academic when I was younger, and I thought I was going to go to law school, actually, when I was in college, and realized I didn't want to do that after an internship, but I always taught and tutored and, worked with other students. And so I knew I wanted to help people, and I went to graduate school and started teaching as a graduate assistant, and that's kind of what got me into teaching at the college level, and I've been doing that for the last, almost 19
So now,
years.
let me ask you this. Where are you collegiately? Where are you on faculty, and where are some of the subject or content areas that you're focused on?
So I'm an instructor at University of West Georgia in a mass communication department, and I have been there now for 3 years. I've taught all around the city, Clark, Atlanta. I started at UGA, Georgia State, just a lot of different schools. But I started first as like an adjunct teaching part-time. Then I got on full-time at Clark, Atlanta was where I first started teaching. Was there, went back to school for my doctorate at Georgia State, was teaching there. And so currently I'm at West Georgia, but it was just a long process. I love students. I love that, every class, every day is different. And I've never regretted one day going into the classroom. And then I took that and saw that not only do students need to learn about communication, I started consulting and doing work with business people and others outside who want to speak, who want to do media and do other things, and started doing consulting that way.
Now, from your education experience, if memory serves me correct, that was actually kind of the reference point for you doing your first book. Can you walk through with our viewers the title of your first book and some of the key areas that it focuses on?
So when I moved here to Georgia, this is real TV.
It happens. We're going to make it happen, no biggie.
But it's all good. So when I moved here to Georgia, it was, personally, I knew what it was like to be in an environment or be in college and you not know exactly, like I said, I changed from, I continued to go on as a political science major, but I ended up double major in communication. And so you may have this life plan of what you think that you want to do, but God may have a greater plan than what you initially thought of. And so my first book is Changing Lanes, A New Adult's Guide to Understanding Your Lane in Life, was really for my students and for, seeing them struggling with deciding on their major, what they wanted to do, what they want, their purpose in life. And the stimulus of it came, I was driving home from, I don't know if I was driving from work or somewhere, and it was dark. And, I'm from California. We have, well-lit streets.
Oh, yeah.
And streets that stay the same name, the whole way.
Oh, yeah. Here it's just
So when I first came to driving in Georgia, it's definitely easy to get lost. And it was very, very rural Georgia. And so I just remember driving in the middle of the night, that's when gas stations, like in LA, like gas stations don't close. But anyway, like there was not even gas stations open. It was dark, and I was like, how am I gonna get home? And so I was driving home, trying to find my way. I thought I was taking a shortcut, and I ended up lost. So eventually I made it home. Someone kind of gave me directions. And the next morning I woke up and had this like desire to write about that experience. Had no idea I was writing a book. And it was just about being in life, feeling like there's like you don't know where to go, like you're just in darkness. And really God was showing me that he provides the light to show you your purpose and direction and how to get there. And that's kind of the stimulus of how I started writing Changing Lanes. And then from there, just showing them, how to seek, the things that inspire you, the things that you would do for free, the things that you really enjoy. That's a key to some of the avenues you should try to go.
That's awesome. And again, like you said, it was really just an extension of the work that you're doing. So here you are, educator. Part of that is equipping and empowering people. Describe to our viewers how that served in turn for a springboard for your next work, which is probably just as powerful, if not more so. So walk through that with our viewers.
So I think all my books are personal, but the next book, came from my own experiences of, being single, being in Atlanta. I mean, there's a lot of,
Really?
single women.
There's a lot of single, really.
But, and just I had friends and I had, other people, and just really like, okay, yes, I wanted to get married at the time. I've been married 7 years now. But, at the time I was like, okay, Lord, really, I know that I've called to be married, but there's also, I need to know my purpose, my passion, pursue that. And so A Woman's Search for Eternal Love is a story of 7 women going through various different stages in life, single, divorced, about to get married, and how they really discover, spiritually, if you spiritually grow and learn to love yourself and who you are and become your best self, you'll attract the best person, and it'll really improve your relationships from that point on. And so really it's about you growing personally and spiritually and how that will enhance your relationships. And really, I didn't know it then. Like, I was an author. My husband was an author. Like, I just continued to do what I was already doing, and your relationship will enhance one another. And so, but it's a good read.
Yeah, it just sounds like you said, content-wise, and it's where you're just taking just practical life experience and just helping provide a pathway. And part of it is sharing, to a degree, not only you're sharing other people's pathways, you're sharing your own.
Yeah, as well as for this book, I learned, I believe that book helped prepare me for marriage in a lot of ways, because I spoke to women that I respected in business and ministry in other areas that provided advice for women as well throughout the book. So it was, I provided some, but there is also a lot of great feedback from some awesome women.
What would you say, and I know anytime you're writing, yes, you're writing for a purpose, and yes, you're talking about a narrative that sometimes gets overlooked. What would you say has been one of the more unusual takeaways, or one of those things that was totally unexpected? Like, you're going one direction, but when someone brings up like a totally different direction that you weren't even like, wow, I never even thought of that. Have you ever had one of those moments with not only this book, but any of your books?
Definitely. So as far as I didn't know what doors and opportunities that even me sitting here right now would come from me writing my book. And so initially, as far as radio, and began to host a radio show, which the producers of that produced a television show, and I was on a local television network years ago in Atlanta, and so it just opened other doors, and speaking and different things that I may have had a desire to do, but I wasn't necessarily actively pursuing, but it just allowed me to move into those spaces, and I love it and I enjoy doing it. But it was something that I didn't plan for, but I was definitely grateful for the opportunity.
Wow. So you've got these awesome moving parts professionally, education, and really through your content, it's still about advocacy, equipment, empowerment, what you're doing through the lens of an author, consultant, spouse. What's on the horizon? What are things that are coming up
Well, with the year almost over and the new year getting ready to begin, walk through with our viewers one of the things that's coming up on the horizon for the new year.
So I am so excited about 2020, and I know for some people 2019 has been a year. It's been a year, and you may have gone through some things, but I'll be working on my third book that I hope to be out in 2020, Life Giver, The Purpose and Power of a Woman. And that is more from my experience, not just as a woman, as a mother. Really, there's so many ways as women that we give life. And yes, we give it physically through that. But what God was showing me through, even women who may not have children, or you may not be able to have children, or the loss of a child, and different situations, that you give life in so many ways. So I'm so excited to write this next book and for that to come out in 2020. And then I'll do a lot more training and really empowering other women and men, that want to speak and pursue their purpose and do the things that they're called to do. So I'm really excited about 2020.
That is awesome. That's awesome. Now, do you have a specific event that's coming up in January that you'd like our viewers to know? So it's like, hey, you see me here, you're more than welcome to see me out and about within the context of work, ladies and gentlemen. Let's make that clear, within the context of work.
Yes. So in January, I definitely am excited. I'll be starting my third session of the Speaker Masterclass, and we'll be doing enrollment for that in January. And so I'll be posting about that on basically Dr. Tonia Phanor on everything. And so just definitely follow, continue to follow me or look me up.
Well, yeah. So as we're getting ready to kind of wind down before we go to our first commercial break, let our viewers know the best ways for people to stay connected, stay engaged, stay informed, and be supportive of the work that you're doing.
So I appreciate it. You definitely, if you have questions or comments or would like to, know that you have a story and know that you want to share that story with others, but sometimes we lack the confidence. Some people are afraid of public speaking. Some people are afraid of a lot of different things. And so I'll really be working with people to overcome those fears. But you can follow me on Dr. Tonia Phanor, Tonia Phanor, on Instagram, Facebook, drtoniaphanor@gmail.com. I will respond to emails as well. It won't be a robot. So I will, if you have questions or you want to take a course or just any general questions, I would love to answer those.
That sounds great. Well, good doctor. We have a good doctor in the house, ladies and gentlemen. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to get ready and pause and take a commercial break. Obviously, we'll bring you back for the group recap. Thank you for being out here and sharing your story of impact.
Thank you.
Well, hey, people need to know, and hey, who better to tell it than you?
I appreciate it.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pause for just a couple moments for our commercial break, and we come back, we will have our next guest on the Conversation Corner. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back on the Conversation Corner with your host, the author Andrew Snorton, Status Network Live TV, and we've got our second in-studio guest. And I tell you what, it's always great when authors come together.
That's correct.
So please let our wonderful viewing audience know who you are and where you're based out of.
My name is Corey McKinney. I'm based out of Birmingham, Alabama. I'm a former 8-year foster parent in Birmingham. I am a CEO of my organization called Go for Two, where our slogan is go the extra miles, guaranteed to make your heart smile. And what we do, we go out in the community and we give back to those in need, especially women and children. I'm also a graduate of Steve Harvey's Act Like Success School of Business, a youth speaker. I speak on subjects such as peer pressure and bullying to our youth and young adults. And I'm the author of my book, Coach Daryl's Colts.
So what don't you do? I mean, now you're in Birmingham, so
Correct.
we know Magic City Classic. Are you one of those people that breaks out the little grill and has like grits and gravy and stuff out there for the
I
game?
go out there and hang out a little bit.
Little something?
Yeah,
little something?
hang out a little
Okay.
bit.
So walk us through all these different things, which are awesome things, but walk through with our viewers when you look back. Was there a certain experience that allowed you to pivot to be like, I need to go in this direction?
Yeah, I kind of had been wanting to write that book for years and just kind of didn't know how to do it, and it's really not an excuse if you don't know how to do something. Kind of get yourself around people who does. So when I went to that Steve Harvey Act Like Success conference, I got myself around like-minded people who were doing things, who were authors, who had wrote several books, and it kind of gave me the little extra push to kind of finish what I had started.
Okay, so now you knew you had it in you, and then you took that next step. Some would say, what, and I'm paraphrasing what Dr. King said, like faith is basically walking up the staircase even though you can't see it.
Right.
And so you went ahead and, even though you didn't see it, you knew you had to make that step.
Correct.
So now that you made the step, walk through what are some of the key themes that your book covers?
Well, my book, Coach Daryl's Coach, it's a true story based off my youth football team and my youth football coach that I played for growing up. We had a remarkable run of 6 years of being 89-1. Only one loss within the 6-year period. So we were very, very good on the field. It teaches our youth a lot about how we became successful, through things like discipline and hard work and having character. And also from the adult standpoint, it teaches that, one person can make an impact on others and what happens when, you go that extra mile for others, that the benefit on the backside of that, is just irreplaceable.
And please restate that one person, because some people think, well, it's just me, can't do nothing.
Right.
All that nonsense.
Right.
But please reinforce how one person can make an impact.
Right. My coach, Coach Daryl, he came into various cities in Birmingham, a lot of inner city from where I'm from, like Kingston Projects, Avondale, Gate City, High Chaparral. And it was a mixture of a lot of different gangs, a lot of different things were going on during that time. And he came in and he got all of us together. And previously they had won like 2 games total. In his first year, we went undefeated and won a championship and went on that 6-year run with only 1 loss. So, to people that say, one person can't do it, my little time is not going to make a difference, that couldn't be so much further from the truth, because that one person made a huge impact and led me to write the book.
And I'm glad you said that, and I really wanted you to reinforce it. And I know I did some bad comedy, dramatic effect, but it really is emphasizing everyone has the capacity to do.
Correct.
So now that you realize that capacity to do with your book, walk through with our viewers some of the spaces and places you've been able to go to do the proverbial seed planting, confidence building, and things of that nature, and really community building.
Yeah, I do it with my speaking and with my book. I've had the opportunity to go out to L.A. with the book. I've been at the 2019 New York Expo with the book as well. I've done several book expos, actually some here in Atlanta, and actually my book is actually here in Atlanta as well. It's at the Greenbrier Mall at the Medu bookstore.
Yeah. In there too. You in there too?
Yeah.
Yes, shouts to Medu bookstore.
Right, so if you're in the Atlanta area, my books are in the Medu bookstore in the Greenbrier Mall. I've been able to speak at different locations. I was mentoring speaker, like I said, at the Steve Harvey mentoring program for young boys. So, this has allowed me to kind of grow and progress and do a lot of things.
And that's great. That's great from the standpoint of, and any of us have written, we are writing it, like we were saying earlier, to talk about narratives that sometimes get overlooked. And it's more than just, I'll just go ahead and say it, it's more than trying to make a buck. It is about making a difference and leaving a legacy and leaving a blueprint, or for lack of a term, we want to give as many people as many tools in their toolbox.
Right.
So definitely. So I know you just came off of a speaking engagement.
Right. Yeah, I was actually up in Jacksonville, North Carolina at a youth football banquet. And I was the guest speaker at the banquet. And that turned out really well. I went up there and spoke to the kids, again, a lot about the things that made us successful on our football team. I talked to them a lot about decisions that they make that can impact their lives, staying away from negative things and negative people. Staying away from things like negative peer pressure and bullying. And then once you get that stuff behind you, it clears your vision. And you can't become successful until you clear your vision. So once that stuff is behind you, you can have a clear vision and you can focus just on what you want to do to become successful. So that's what kind of was the theme that I gave the kids when I spoke to them.
And definitely passionate and purposeful.
Right.
And could you, for our viewers, and I know people hear that, but to you, what does passion and purpose look like based on the things that you've done?
Right. It's just trying to give people opportunity. One thing I've learned by being a foster parent is that a lot of times, kids just need an opportunity. They need somebody to care for them. They need somebody to push for them. They need somebody to have some passion and have some drive for them. And once they see that you got that, then they'll actually pick up what they got, and they actually be able to progress and become successful in their own right.
What would you say has been, and I know every day brings something different, but what would you say are some of the more rewarding takeaways from your journey through the lens of being an author, being a speaker, being a foster parent, and really the bigger picture is being an advocate?
Right. It's just the feeling you get, like our motto for Go for Two is go that extra mile. It's guaranteed to make your heart smile. And once you go out and do things for others and you see that their face and you see their reaction to things that you've done for them, it just warms your heart. So that's one of the biggest things that I get out of doing that, is that you get to do for others.
Wow. So that's to a degree, it's more of you being, that's an example of your stewardship, your outreach, your compassion for people and things of that nature. So what's on the horizon? You've got all these wonderful moving parts. We've got 2019 getting ready to wind down. 2020 is really knocking at the door. Wait, let me use the max. Yep, 2020 knocking at the door.
Right.
So when 2020 knocks at the door and when you open the door, what are you early on walking into?
Well, one of the things, I'm going to continue with my book tours, going different places, trying to promote the book. My ultimate goal is to get it to Mr. Perry one day and get a movie done out of it. That's my ultimate goal.
Oh, really? You got to get a ticket, because that's like all 1,100 of us. Hey, Mr. Perry, we're right around the corner.
So I'll continue to do the legwork and to do the shows, and I'm working on my second book, which is going to be called Foster Dad. It's an example of the 8 years that I spent being a foster parent. I'm working on that as well. I have a speaking engagements that I'm working on for next year as well. I have one January 25th at the Mount Pilgrim Baptist Association Youth Conference. So I'll be there in Birmingham, Alabama, doing the speaking for the youth on that Saturday.
Wow. So you've already got things lined up, a couple things that you're already, as we all are, we do have things in the works. We really do work, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't look like it. But just because you look smooth as silk doesn't mean it's as rough as sandpaper behind closed doors. So we're just telling you that right now.
Right.
So you've got those things going on, other awesome moving parts going on. What would you say for our viewers, whatever background or bracket or what have you, and all of us have some type of, let's say, words of wisdom or lessons learned. When it comes to writing, and people are like, oh, I got a book idea, but putting in the work and is something a little bit different. What's one piece of wisdom or insight you'd like to share with folks out there that are like, I've got a story to tell. Where do I go from here?
You just have to start. A lot of times we talk about, what we want to do, but we just talk, and we just talk, and we just talk, and we put it off, and we put it off. You got to sit down and start. You got to find a way to just start. And once you start, a lot of people say, well, I don't know how that process works. Well, you know how to write. Get a notebook and get paper and just start jotting those things down that you got in your head on paper. Get a start to it, and once you start, to stay relentless. You're tied up to what you want to do. You can't allow anything to stop you from what you want to do. So when you're tired, you just got to suck it up and go. You got to do a little extra work. You may have to work your job and then write at nighttime. When you're off on the weekends, just whatever you got to do. Don't let anything or anybody stop you from doing that book or writing what you need to write.
In that same vein, I know another thing is public speaking. And it's funny because for young people, that's one of their biggest challenges. But guess what? For people who aren't as young, or have gotten a head start on younger people, that's a challenge. So for people that know they have these brilliant ideas, but they're worried about getting from here to here, I know to varying degrees as authors, we are a catalyst and kind of speaking on their behalf. But what would you say to that person who's like, well, I don't like to, and I get in there and all that? What would you share with someone out there that knows they have something important to say?
Well, I'm going to do two things. Number one, two things that I learned through this process about writing when you get stalemate. You have to put down that phone and the remote so you can be clear and you can be focused on what you want to do. It's very difficult to do sometimes, but if you can put those two things down, you can be clear and get started. And what I have to say to people is that I read this quote that said, be obedient about what God wants you to do, because you never know who's waiting on your obedience on the other side. So somebody is waiting on that book that you haven't written yet, that you don't even know about. I had no idea when I wrote my book that I'll be in North Carolina speaking about it 2 weeks ago. So somebody is always waiting on your obedience to do what you're called and what you're supposed to do.
Re-emphasize that one more time, please. No, because some things, look, when you are speaking to truth and speaking facts, some people are like, well, no, folks, this is just real, honest talk.
Yeah.
Stress that to our viewers once again, please.
I was actually we were feeding at a shelter a while back with my Go for Two thing, and I was speaking to the ladies there, giving them some words of wisdom, and I told her the same thing. I said, hey, be obedient to what you want to do, because you never know who's waiting on your obedience on the other side of it. And I came back and spoke to those same ladies about 3 months later, and the lady said she had wanted to write a book the first time. When I came back the second time, she had written a book. And she gave me a hug and cried, and almost made me cry and tear up. But, I just felt good that, those words helped her, that, it's not, a lot of times it's not about us. It's about, who you can help, who you can inspire, and you don't really know who you're going to help and inspire until you get it done. So, don't let anything stop you from living your dreams, what God had put in your heart. This book that I wrote, God put that in my heart when I was in high school. And I tarried around with it for years and years and years, and I finally decided to go ahead and do it. So I just would advise anyone that if you got something that you want to do, if you want to be an author, you want to be a writer, or no matter what the dream that you have, do it. Don't let anybody stop you, and you can get it done.
Wow, so there's some very timely and real life, just real honest.
Yeah.
Just real honest conversation.
Yeah,
oh my goodness!
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
we do that here since October of last year? Oh my goodness!
Right.
Oh my goodness!
Yes, sir.
So as we get ready to wind down this segment, and before we do our group recap, please remind our viewers the best ways that they can stay connected with you, support you, and again, remind our viewers of that next opportunity to listen.
Again, January 25th is a Saturday. I'll be speaking at the Mount Pilgrim Baptist Association. It's a youth conference. And you can follow me on Facebook at Corey McKinney, or Go for Two on Facebook. Also the same thing, Corey McKinney, the Corey McKinney on Instagram, or Go for Two on Instagram as well. My email address is goingfor2@gmail.com. That's GOINGFORTOO@gmail.com. And I have a website as well that you can actually get my t-shirts, my Go for Two t-shirts, and a copy of my book, which is www.gofor2.net. That's GOFOR2.net.
Okay, sounds good. So what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our second commercial break. When we come back, we'll have both of our guests on for our group recap. And during the commercial break, ladies and gentlemen, again, please make sure you know what to do with your phones and tablets and other devices. Go ahead. Just saying, go ahead. So we're going to take our commercial break, and we'll be back in just a few moments on the Conversation Corner. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back for our group recap, and as we do with just about any show on here, we've got great people really doing some great things out here. We've heard individually the wonderful things they're doing, the seed planting that they're doing, the advocacy that they're doing. So for the good doctor, of the many life lessons that I'm sure you impart with all your students and what have you, what's one that you would say is recurring? You know how some questions will keep coming up over and over again, which means it's a reminder that's why we are doing what we're doing. What would you say is one key question that comes up that you'd like our viewers to be aware of, but also just some things for them to think about?
I would say a key question could be that you kind of brought up in the last segment that, like, I know I have a purpose, I know I have a story, but really getting out there and not being afraid to pursue that. Yes, you are worthy. Am I good enough? That's one question. Am I good enough? Yes, because God created you, you're good enough, and that you can do it, and that if He's put this dream in you, then He's already equipped you to be able to fulfill it. And so don't doubt yourself. What if it's writing a book, if it's speaking, if it's whatever it is you feel that you're called to do, is to go out there and do it. And the same thing happened with me. I stalled on my second book, and it was like I was saying, you're holding up someone else's blessing. Like, this is so much bigger than you. And so by you not fulfilling your purpose, it's really it's hindering someone else from being able to fulfill their purpose. So do it. Go for it. You have it in you.
All right. How would you like to add to that?
I just like to say that a lot of times people, kind of self-doubt themselves, like, why, I can't do this, or I'm scared of this, or I fear that. And my question would be, why not? Why not you? Who's to say that you can't do all the things that you want to do? And we always say, bring up the negative side of it, but why not you? You can be the person that do whatever you want to do if you put your mind to it.
Okay. Another question, because I know we've been focused and dedicated and all that. What would you say is one of the more humorous experiences you've had being out on the speaker trail or the author trail?
I'll tell you, man, I was actually it was at my book launch, and I had some of my kids and some of my foster kids there, and I was in a pretty deep conversation, and I was asking the audience, hey, about doing for others and going the extra mile, and I said, hey, how many of you guys, had anything to eat last night, And one of the kids that lived with me raised his hand and said, I didn't. And I was like, now you had something to eat last night. So that was funny, man, because everybody was so serious in the room, and I was trying to make a point about, sometimes we just step across, small crises and things like that, and forget that we do have kids that need things. And it was just funny that one of my own kids raised their hand and said, I hadn't had anything. And I was kind of like, wait a minute now, we fed you very well. So that was pretty cool.
What would you say? Something that's humorous that you can recall recently from the author trail or the classroom trail? Oh, there's plenty of tales from the classroom, I'm sure.
There is. I mean, we just had one just now. Technology, things. I mean, nothing's perfect. You just have to not take yourself so seriously and realize that life happens wherever you are. I mean, my students, in the classroom, they definitely crack me up. There's I can't recall a specific story I'm trying to think of. They have done so many things. I've had so many interesting, from live animals to dangerous objects in my class of speeches and just things that they do. I'm like, really?
Wait, live animals?
Yeah, they wanted to do I didn't allow it, but they wanted to bring in a dog to show how to do dog training. But anyway, that's on a whole nother.
That's a whole nother story for us.
But just lots of interesting things that students do, but it's interesting.
Yeah, wow. I guess, do I need to share a funny story?
Yeah, go ahead and give it.
Oh, I know a funny story. Jack knows. Last time I was on, I'm like, and we're going to be on Christmas, and he almost exactly jumped through the window, be like, look here, we get along, but no, sir. Mm-mm. He was like, I'm from the Nosa tribe. No, sir, it's not going to happen. So it does happen. So as we're getting ready to wind down with the show, again, starting over here, remind people who you are, where you're based out of, the next event that you have coming up, and the best ways to stay connected.
So once again, I'm Dr. Tonia Phanor. I can be reached on Dr. Tonia Phanor, DrTonia Phanor, at Instagram, Facebook, at Gmail. If you have questions, I will be launching my speaker masterclass in January, and I'm based here in Atlanta. I do consulting and speaking and training here, so definitely hit me up if you need any of those services.
Okay.
January 25th, I'll be speaking at the Mount Pilgrim Baptist Association Youth Conference. You can reach me on Facebook and Instagram at GoFor2 or Corey McKinney. My email is goingfor2@gmail.com. That's GOINGFORTOO@gmail.com. And my website, where you can get a Go For Two t-shirt or a signed copy of my book, Coach Daryl's Colts, is www.gofor2.net. That's 2.net.
Okay, and there you have it. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we do here on the show. We're bringing some really good people doing some really good things across entertainment, business, the community, and more. And yes, we do bring in authors. I mean, there's a large body of authors out there doing some great work. So as a fellow author, it's great to bring in some wonderful people. So as we get ready to wind down, for our show tonight. First off, thanks for being open for the slight change. Like I said, we will be back on our regular second and fourth Wednesday of each month, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It just so happened fourth Wednesday of the month was going to be Christmas, and you see where I'm going with all that. So I'm very thankful to all of you for making the adjustment for tonight. Thankful for our team here at Status Network. They put in a lot of work, seen and unseen, to make the magic happen. So I'm grateful, to Jack, Unette, Kush, the whole team for making it happen. Thanks. Again, our next show will air on January 8th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure, again, not only for our show for tonight, but any of our shows, please don't let this be the only time you see these wonderful people. They are doing wonderful things, and the way that our show grows and the way that our reach grows is for you to support any and all of our guests. Because when that happens, we can continue bringing in great people and doing great things and making this the awesome platform that it is. Not only just this channel, but the entire network family. So at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and wind down. Please be safe over the holidays. There's still a little bit of celebrating to do. So remember, go to watch night. Or if you choose not to, that's your business. Please be safe this New Year's Eve. Really, as a side note, if you're going to be out, and if you know that you haven't been out in a while and you're going to overindulge, please use a ride share or credible service. We want to see you. We want to see you on the other side. So please, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's this weekend or especially with New Year's Eve, if you know you're going to be out a little bit longer, please, please, please use a ride share or reliable service to get you where you need to go. Get a room. Do something where you're safe and sound, because we want to see you and we want to see more of you. So until next time, take good care. Happy holidays. This is my last show of 2019. I'll have the 2020 vision in a couple of weeks. So we're going to ride out again with a reminder of my audio book, The Author's Mixtape, and then the instrumental, and we're done. Take care. Be safe. Have a good holiday season. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
What's going on, y'all? This is author Andrew Snorton, and today's project is the Author's Mixtape Volume 1, From H to O, looking at things a little bit differently compared to other poetry and spoken word pieces. This is done in partnership with Third Level Entertainment Music Group, and the way we did our spoken word is a little bit different. What you're about to hear is purely organic. In other words, the topics were picked, given to me. Then I had 10 minutes to come up with something, and they had 10 minutes to come up with instrumentals. You'll hear 2 instrumental tracks and 4 traditional tracks. So sit back, relax, take it all in, and remember, this is the first of what'll be soon to come, the Author's Mixtape.